Question number 4, sub-question 1 of the PhilNITS FE afternoon portion of the exam. In this question, we are being asked, the packet will finally be received by the PC whose IP address is blank. So that means that there's a packet being sent and we gotta know the PC that will be receiving it. And the PC can be identified using its IP address. Okay, in this image file, actually, I've cut the portions that are unnecessary or won't really help us too much with regard to answering the problem. If we go up to the very beginning, there's this part here about a training institute, V, has a computer lab named Computer Lab 1. It has 8 PCs for trainees, a PC for a trainer, a file server, a printer, a 16-port manageable 10 by 100 switch, and a 10-100-1000 router. The institute has several public IP addresses that allow LAN users to access the internet. A network administrator uses a private address 192.168.1.0/28 for configuring PCs, printers, and servers in Computer Lab 1. The Institute subscribes to SaaS for efficient training. The SaaS provides contents such as instructional videos for trainers, textbooks, material files for trainees, and online applications. Generally, there is no major issue with the total network system. SaaS stands for Software as a Service. And actually, this part, it's okay to read it very quickly, but not to think too much about what it's saying, because what we want to know next is what is the problem, what is the question, right? But just to get you picking up the words and understanding what is the topic about. So based on this set of words, it's got to do something with the IP address and computers and having some kind of laboratory, right? So just like what I said a while ago, no need to think too much about this because what we want to know is what is the question, what is the problem, right? That's why when we go a little bit further, where we have the part here with the blank, it's saying that we need to know the PC that will be receiving the packet because there's a packet being sent. Now, above this, we got the destination address part. I think to understand what's happening here, we need to go up a little bit more, particularly this part where it explains how the packets are sent and how the PCs are able to receive the packets. And I put here a mark to indicate the portion of the paragraph that is most important. It says here, when PCs on the LAN send requests, packets to a software as a service web server 1, the packets pass through the central router. The central router replaces the inside local IP addresses of the packets with the public IP address of the router. It also attaches individual port numbers with each IP address to map the inside local IP address of the sender PC with the public IP address of the router. The router receives a response from the internet along with the same port number it attached when sending the request packet. Using this port number, the router translates the public IP address back to the inside local IP address and delivers the responded message to the right destination on the LAN. Okay, so this part here tells us that whenever we send packets, it goes through the central router, and the central router, it gives the packets a public IP address. I think there is a diagram here that helps us understand what's happening, because sometimes you get the words there and it might be difficult to figure out what's happening. Although I think when I was answering this a while ago about lunchtime, I think this part that I highlighted, the one with the description, really helped me understand what's happening. And I think that maybe during the first reading it's a bit difficult to understand, but I think you need to also read it again and then understand that there are what we call port numbers. I think if you've ever worked on your own computer, maybe because you have your router from your ISP, Internet Service Provider, and you have your own computer inside the network, and what you want is to be able to maybe get another computer outside the network to access that computer. For example, you want to create your own web service, and to get your web service up on the internet, and so that other people could access your computer, then you have to be able to work with the ports. Because if a computer outside wants to access your computer, it would know the IP address of the internet service provider that gave you the address in your vicinity, in your particular house. So that's the IP address that will be shown outside, which is the public address that is being talked about here. And of course, inside your local network, you also have your own local IP addresses, and maybe just like the usual IP address range, you got, for example, 192.168, so something like this. Of course, you can still change this. I know in other schools, for example, they would use 10.11 or something like that, but I think in other cases it would usually be this one, 192.168. But of course, once you move outside, you have your central router, maybe just like what I said a while ago, your ISP here in the Philippines would be maybe PLDT, the DSL there, and then you would have your own IP address, right, for that house. Now, if another computer wants to access a computer inside your house, because you got several computers that are connected and are using the router, then how would they know which computer to talk to? They're all using the central router's IP address. That's where the port comes in, because the port would tell the computer outside that you gotta tell us which computer you want to access. And that's why the computer outside would tell the port of the computer that they want. And I think that if they don't know what the port is, then the central router would figure it out for the computer outside, because the computer outside would likely have a address there, and from the address, the central router could pretty much determine too that, hey, you're talking about this computer with port number 2 or something like that. I think there is a way to do that, but the point is really the port is there so that we can identify the computer that's inside the local network, because they're all using the IP address outside. Okay, this 198.51.120. Okay, so given that idea, let's see what's happening here. It's saying that a computer outside with the source IP address, this one, 198.51.120, with port number 3312, we gotta know what the computer is asking for. For example, which computer it wants to connect to, right? And in this case, it's saying that if you are coming from this computer with this IP address and this port, then you are connecting to this guy, 192.168.1.6, with port number 4524. So again, the destination address is saying that it's this guy, the internet, the the IP address with the port is this one, and then we want to know inside the local network which one is it, which one is it talking about. You can see that IP address for the one on the internet, they're all the same, right? And that's why you need to use the port to identify which one is which. And from there, because we know the port in this case, then, well, we connected to this guy. And you can see here that the IP addresses are not all the same anymore. And also the ports sometimes will not be the same. Okay? Okay, so I think that should explain what we need to know to answer this question. If you're wondering how come this one has the same port, that occurs too, but because I think that just like what I said a while ago, where the outside computer would know the port, then we can identify pretty much what you're referring to, right? For example, this one is going to refer to this one, okay? Of course, if they don't know the port, then I think maybe the router would have some way to connect it to the correct computer. Okay. So for example, if anyone wants to connect to any computer here, maybe you just give it the default port and it automatically knows that it's this computer, right? Maybe there's not a lot of web servers in the local network, so it only knows that there's this one server here, so it must be that one, right? So that could occur too. But I think that's more than what we would need as information to answer this question. So if we go to the set of choices, we got here letter B, which is saying that it's 192.168.1 and 6. And if we check whether that is correct or not, we can see that it's really 192.168.1.6, and that's why letter B is the correct answer.